Something strange is happening in gaming right now. A studio that spent years apologizing for its past has just rebuilt it. Just like that. Lara effing Croft actually looks good again. I can't believe this. Wow, crazy. To think this would happen in the year of our Lord 2025, whereby our girl Lara would come back iconic, confident, and hungry for adventure. And as you'd expect, everyone is celebrating this momentous occasion. I mean, why wouldn't you? But here's the uncomfortable part. When a company reverses course this hard, this sudden, this abruptly, it's really because they changed their beliefs. Or it's really because they had a sudden coming to Jesus moment and they want to fix their old ways and become better again. Usually, when these things happen, it's because something else happened first to force their hand. And look, I totally get the reaction. I mean, if you've been paying attention to what has been happening in the gaming industry for a while now, you will understand why this actually feels like a victory. Why it feels like relief. Finally, the industry is coming back to their senses. Finally, balance. Finally, things are going back to normal, right? I mean, Lara Croft doesn't look embarrassed to exist anymore. She looks like an actual character again, not a statement. Proportions make sense. The silhouette is unmistakable. The design isn't fighting the player. On the surface, this feels like a win. And just to be clear, Lara Croft was always attractive. That's not the point here. The point I'm driving towards is what changed is what the design is allowed to express. Confidence used to be restrained or restricted, but now it's being permitted again. That's what changed. Lara Croft is being framed as iconic and confident again. Booty shorts and all. This didn't happen slowly. There was no public reckoning. It wasn't a gradual process. There wasn't any apology tour. As a matter of fact, what we just got is back to roots. Just like that, in an instant. And usually when that happens, it's helpful to ask the question as to why. Why did this happen? Why now? What probed this decision? What is exactly happening behind the scenes at Crystal Dynamics? Because this is where actually things stop adding up. This same studio, Crystal Dynamics, didn't quietly move away from its past. They actively distanced themselves from it. If you recall, they are the same studio that released those disclaimers in the original trilogy of the Tomb Raider series, whereby they were talking about, we are sorry if the content depicted in this video game may be offensive to some viewers or may be culturally insensitive, blah, blah, blah. And now you're telling me that that same studio is remaking one of their old original titles that still carry this cultural insensitivity, and now they're saying it's a good thing? Irony abounds. You once sacrificed yourself to save Zeus, and now you seek to destroy him? What has brought about this change? I mean, Lara Croft herself, in the Survivor franchise, she was reframed. She was less confident, less Tomb Raider, and more reluctant participant. I have to do this. My father was onto something. Jonah! Over there! It was okay. There's nothing wrong with that last line. It always makes me chuckle. It always makes me chuckle when she says that. I love her British accent, by the way, and I love the voice actress. So don't hear what I'm not saying. But when these things happened, when these changes took place, we were told that it wasn't censorship. She's wearing pants now, but it's not censorship. It's growth, it's maturity, responsibility. So then here's the question that no one wants to ask. If this past was so problematic that it needed distancing, it needed disclaimers and context, then why are you touching it again? Why are you rebuilding it now? What's going on here? Because I guarantee you that answer has absolutely nothing to do with taste and everything to do with pressure. So once you step back, you understand that this entire thing has very little to do with Crystal Dynamics. This has everything to do with pressure. Crystal Dynamics is not a company that operates in a vacuum. They answer to somebody, and that someone or somebody is called Embracer Group. Embracer Group is a company that has spent years buying studios, buying IPs, buying scale, actually, hoping that that growth itself would cover the cost. But unfortunately, the math didn't math or go according to mathematics. Certain deals collapsed or fell through, funding expectations disappeared, layoffs followed, and studios closed. And suddenly, experimentation wasn't so brave anymore. It was extremely dangerous. And when risk spikes like that, creativity doesn't just take a back seat. Creativity gets into the trunk of the car. Studios simply become way more conservative. Because, imagine this. You are far more likely to become more creative and bolder when you have money to spend. If you find yourself in a casino and you're gambling, hypothetical, and you have a lot of money, most of the time you're going to want to bet on the games that have the most money you can actually win. And those ones usually have a higher buy-in compared to the others. But when you don't have money, or when your money starts running out, you automatically shift to the smaller bets where you can make some money, and once you have enough, maybe you can go back to the big boys table. So that's kind of what's happening here with Embracer Group. Now, I understand that some people might actually say, ergo, are you trying to say that remakes are a sign of a creativity sickness in a studio or company? Because if that's the case, look at Capcom. Capcom's been remaking their games, and that company is extremely successful and healthy. So what do you have to say about that? And look, that is a great point, but what I'm trying to actually get at, my point is, Capcom's remakes work because they're not using them to hide their weaknesses. They come off as a strength for them. When Capcom is making their remakes for their games, there are also other projects that they're also doing on the side. It's almost like a surplus of strength. There are new IPs. They're making bold new moves, introducing complex new systems and mechanics. They're being actual visionaries. Take a look at Resident Evil 7, the game that actually put them back in the spotlight. Remember, the remakes didn't come before Resident Evil 7. The remakes came after the fact. And when the remakes were happening, they were also releasing other games as well. Your Street Fighters, your Devil May Cries, your Monster Hunter Worlds. That is a company that makes remakes from a place of strength, not fear. And you can easily tell them apart that these guys know what they're doing. These guys are operating from a position of strength. And these guys, it's mostly fear that if we don't get this right, we might actually go under. Just saying. Crystal Dynamics seems to fit the second profile way better than Capcom does. All of this to say, Lara looking good again isn't proof that the industry has finally found its spine. It's simply proof that their risk profile actually changed. When companies are confident, they tend to experiment. When they're scared, they retreat to what is familiar and what is safe. Nostalgia is safe. Recognition is safe. A proven silhouette is safety. Making Lara Croft iconic and confident again isn't a philosophical shift. It is simply a low-risk move that is designed to stabilize attention and make revenue fast. That's why this kind of feels like a win. But at the same time, it's also why it feels kind of fragile. But maybe that's just me. Because if you think of it, none of the underlying incentives actually changed. The disclaimers that they put in their game didn't disappear. The language that they use to describe beauty and attractiveness hasn't really changed. And thirdly, the pressure didn't disappear. It was simply just outweighed, if you will. So when you see Lara Croft looking like her old self again, I wouldn't celebrate too quickly. This isn't the industry healing, it's the industry just trying to pull a fast one on you. What we're actually seeing is what happens when cultural pressure collides with financial pressure. And financial pressure actually gets the upper hand.